Right, today I'm painting in Devon. Dittisham in Devon. Today's journey is about 100 miles and I'll be packing all my stuff together in my home village of Pilton in Somerset and then winging past Glastonbury down the rather miserable M5 motorway back into the countryside, and here at the mouth of the River Dart is the ancient village of Dittisham in South Devon, where I'll be doing a spot of painting. Firstly, we'll be walking down to the harbour side. On the path into the village, you're treated with grand views of the River Dart. Beyond that, the landscape is a jumble of fields, peppered with small villages and farms. Devon is certainly a painter's paradise. As you enter the village, you'll notice this church, the 14th century church dedicated to St George. It stands high above the Dart and must have been a handy navigation point in times past, and quite probably today as well. I have a bit of a soft spot for churches, so it will come as no surprise that I've painted this one already. But today, I'll be going down to the harbour front. There are loads of villages like Dittisham in the UK, and they call them unspoilt. But really, they're actually untouched. And they're untouched because in the old days, these were very poor communities and they simply didn't have the money to knock something down and to build something a bit more modern in its place. They had to make do and mend. So now, I guess they're preserved. That said, however, you certainly can't be poor if you want to live here today. Each of these houses costs an extraordinary amount of money. Continuing with the walk, I'm now passing the Red Lion pub. Now I'm told it also serves as a village shop, post office and library. Now that's diversification in a tricky market if ever I saw it. So just on that alone it's worth a painting. And I did this scene on a previous visit. Right, now on we go. Dittisham is an absolute gift for a painter. Everywhere you look there seems to be a new scene to paint, and it's the same all year round. It's just as lovely in winter, though if you do come in winter, don't forget your waterproof coat because I think you're probably going to need it. Of course, what often makes a great view is a great hill, and Dittisham can be very hilly indeed. In fact, there's one road that they call the Level is a real climb in some places. I half think it's a piece of local sarcasm. Once you're finished with the Level, thankfully it's downhill all the way. You get another quick view of the River Dart, and the cottage-lined street leads directly to the harbour front. And finally here we are at the harbour side, and this is the view I'll be painting, the Ferry Boat Inn, a watering hole very popular with local and tourists alike. And let's face it, you don't get more pink than that. I've arrived at low tide because this is the view I want, and let's face it, if the water's coming in it'll make me hurry up a little bit. Well, before we get on with any painting, let's have a look at all this. Now I think you'll agree there are worse places to spend your holiday, and there's the Ferry Boat Inn we'll be painting in a minute. And because it's tidal river, it rarely gets rough, so you can get out there and play with your dogs and family and stuff. And one of the popular things here is boating, whether it be motorboats or kayaks and such. As I say, pretty calm river, so you can more or less do what you like in relative safety. Looking across the river you can see Greenway Quay, and just up the hill a bit you'll find Greenway itself, which was Agatha Christie's old house. It's owned by the National Trust and you can visit it. And if you do want to pay a visit, you can catch a ferry at the end of this jetty. And to summon the ferry, there's none of that apps nonsense here. All you have to do is ring sharply on this bell and the ferryman will come across. I've never visited Greenway myself, I don't know why. Perhaps I will next time, and also I feel slightly self-conscious about ringing that bell. Well, I think that's enough of the tour. It's time to set up. As mentioned before, I'm in the low tide position, so I can't really hang about. I don't want to get wet feet. And so here we go. Right now, just a quick look at the view again. There we are. And of course, the drawing first, as always. Now I'm going to change the composition slightly because I really want the bell in, so I'm going to have to twist a few things about a bit, but it will work out in the end. There's a car right in front of the pub there, but I'm going to change it to a little rowing boat, and also I want to give an indication of the jetty, so I'm having a character walking across the little walkway there, just to give an idea of that. Probably just rung the bell or something. Now I'm going to start throwing a little bit of paint about. At this stage it's all tonal values, just lights and darks and shadows and all the rest of it. It's a really quite a bright sunshine on the pub at the moment, which is ideal, and also because of the angle of the sun you can get an indication of that little pathway down to the harbour front there, so that adds a nice little bit of contrast, so I'm pretty pleased with that. And thankfully my imaginary boat seems to be working okay, and just put a few trails down to the seafront there. It can be tough painting outside, especially here in northern Europe. You get wind and gales and all sorts, but today is a real treat. You can watch the day go by and everyone seems to be enjoying themselves, which is brilliant, and I get to throw a bit of paint about. Talking of which, it's time to put on a bit of colour, and as often I start with the trees, and these trees here are framing the composition quite nicely, so they'll go in and they'll give me an idea where to go next. But I would say at this stage I'm feeling pretty confident, so let's see how we go. I was going to say that Dittisham is always a quiet place, but then you're suddenly reminded that the Royal Navy and various other sorts of military are just up the road, and what could be nicer than doing a bit of low-level flying down a river valley? I wouldn't mind having a go. That said, I can't think of anyone more unsuitable for the military than myself, so it's back to the painting. Time to put a bit more colour on the roof. I think at least I know what that is. A bit of blue and a bit of brown, and that should do it, and then I'll have another think. I'm going to move the painting on quickly to near the end now. As I was working, I particularly like the white building on the top left there, and of course that rather vivid pink, so I'm going to pop that in and let you have a look at everything. Again, I'm pretty pleased with my little boat there at the front. That's worked out. I thought a nice red for that, and hopefully you can see that character on the gangplank having just rung his bell. The rest of it, a few spatterings of tourists and what have you, and overall I'm pretty pleased. I might tidy a little bit up in the studio, but for now I'm off to the ferry boat inn for a well-deserved beer and a packet of pork scratchings. Splendid. And just in time too, because I noticed the boats were once at low tide and now leaving, and I'm pretty sure that those swans were a lot farther away not so long ago, so another excuse to get down the pub. Right, I think that's it from me from Dittisham for the day. It's been really lovely sunny afternoon, so I'm quite pleased. Just to end, if you want to do notifications on that button there and subscribe to my YouTube channel, or on my website you can sign up to my newsletter. I probably do one about once a month. With each newsletter I give away a watercolour, so there we are. Anyway, thanks for watching, and have a good day.